Fuck. All right, we're rolling.
Rolling.
Planet B
presents Cult and Culture Podcast.
All right, welcome to episode 17 of the Cult and Culture Podcast. This is Justin Pearson.
This is Luke Hinshaw.
This episode features our friends in Black Dice, longtime fan of the band and the people. I've toured with them with the Locust first, and then I think All Leather, Retox. I've played a bunch of shows with them, and also like known them through their incarnations of all the lineups and stuff, and was lucky enough to release a single on 301G by them, which is a pretty insane 40-page full-color book, which we'll talk about. Yeah, so it was cool to have Eric, Bjorn, and Aaron on the show. They played a show in San Diego for their in support of their new record, and it was great to catch up with them.
Well, hi, this is Bjorn from Black Dice.
And Eric.
And this is Aaron from Black Dice.
Cool. Well, I wanted to like kind of do like a journey of my relationship with you guys, or I guess my sort of view of Black Dice, if that's okay.
Yeah. It's okay.
Right. And it's funny because like I kind of explained it to Luke earlier too. It's like I have all these things were like before I ever even met you guys. All these things. Well, I mean, I knew you before, obviously. So that was like a crazy like having you join the band. I mean, it was like it was awesome. I mean, it was already awesome before, but before you guys ever came out here, there was like this sort of like folklore about you guys like being violent and all this like wild shit. And I mean, I think I can kind of relate to it because the Locust sort of had a little bit of that too, or like. Well, not that you guys are violent or that the Locusts were, but it was always like just shit happened and it was bad. And it was kind of crazy because the first time I saw you guys play was at the Che, and I remember everyone was frightened of you mainly, and everyone was like, out in the circle, and I don't know what you were like. I don't think you were like swinging your mic around or anything, but you brought this chair out there, and people thought you were gonna fucking hit him with the chair, But the worst of it, I guess, worst of it in quotations, was that you ended up, I think, breaking the mic, and then sticking the mic cable up your ass, and there was like shit all over it.
I doubt there was shit all over.
There was. Because, do you guys know Jay? Huff?
Red J.
Oh yeah.
He was the sound engineer, and he was like, for one, like a normal human being would be like, fuck that band for putting shit on them. But he was like, he was the sound person at that show, I think.
To us and charged us $15.
Yeah.
For cable, which was right to do. But I remember him be like, I'm really sorry, but
yeah,
it's like a 20-foot cable. Like I need $15.
It's just kind of crazy how high stakes a show with like 20 people at it seemed at.
Yeah.
The time where you would end up overselling things so you get hurt at the show or somebody else gets... Just things that seem like big deals now, I'm just sort of like, whatever.
Yeah.
You two
But
shits about that.
it was crazy because I think... I mean, it's pre-internet, so I think everyone had this like idea, like, oh fuck, it's gonna be a thing, like almost like seeing Gigi Allen or something. You're just like, what are we gonna do? Like, be like get like positioned in the venue where you won't get hurt or won't get shit on you. And it was great that it ended in that. It was like not violent at all, except there was just shit on the mic cable, and you're like, it was such a rad, and I mean this in a loving way, but it was such a rad fuck you to like everything.
I feel like Bjorn brings up that idea a lot though, or has over the years, where kind of the best. There's a lot of progress that can be made by misinterpreting what you're interested in, like for instance, when I was a kid, I always thought like that club culture, like club kids, it's kind of fascinating to me. Realistically, I probably didn't want to be in those clubs with any of those people, but like right now I'm really into the Grateful Dead.
Right now you are.
We won't bring it up.
Okay.
But it's like something that I think I have a fantasy about more than I think about if I had to be there.
If you had to hang out with those fuckers and eat falafel in the parking lot.
Yeah, that's
spin around.
But I feel like I remember when we heard about the Locust, it was a similar thing. Like I feel like the imagination of it was part of it.
When it sucked being behind you guys on tour, because just like felt like your shows were well attended, people were psyched, bought lots of merch and stuff, and it seemed like there was a lot of years where we were like coming in the next week, and people just be like, "Fucking Locust show was amazing."
But we did a show together at Chain Reaction, and I remember like we were so psyched, and it felt so good for us, and I think you guys, like, we felt like a fucking team. And but I mean, no offense to Orange County, but fuck Orange County, and everyone was like freaked out by you guys.
That was a cool show.
That was a rough one too, because Aaron was friends with the sound guy, and then we got into an altercation with him.
Yeah, Rusty, who was doing the sound.
Rusty from The Shock.
Yeah. Yeah, he
was pissed at you guys.
He hated us, and it was really tough for me because he had like recorded like a T-Tari record, and like I was like friends with him, you know, when we were in LA and stuff like that. And it was like I was rolling back with.
Wait, he recorded a T-Tari record?
Yeah, the 7-inch. Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it was at his house. Yeah.
Okay, but also too, like, you joining the band was so rad because I never met the previous bass player. Like, I think he played that show at the Che, but I barely knew you guys. I don't even know if we had discussed like the record with 31G yet.
I don't think so, because that seemed like it came like a tiny bit after we would have met.
We played at ABC, didn't we?
Yes, and then we were like.
And you stayed at my place. Remember that?
In New York?
Yeah, in Brooklyn.
Oh, I remember.
It was like, well, but
you guys
it was actually your place. It was actually Eric's place. It wasn't. I had just moved there. I didn't even know how to get there.
Yeah.
I was like, I've never been in a car before in New York. Like, I don't know how to get there.
But you had to play under a fake name too. You weren't allowed to play. You were like already banned from there, I think, or something. Because I remember like, dude, no one's gonna come out to see us, and Black Dice is playing, and I forgot what your fake name was.
White Mice, something like that.
Maybe
something like that. All right, but I think because we don't have a flyer for this show, and that might be why. Because I was wondering about that because I remember the show, but like I've never seen a flyer for it.
Yeah. Anyhow, but that was it was so. Like, I already loved the band, and especially because of the Gravity Records connection and stuff. It was awesome. And then when you know, it's like, oh, now you guys got the guy from T-Tari. Like, that's like next level shit. Like, you made it like, not to, you know, because there is a coastal difference, sort of, you know, like you and it was nice to like have Black Dice become a West Coasty kind of thing, you know, like that was.
It was also crazy that you could book a tour just on the promise that you had a 7-inch coming out on Gravity. Like, we got shows from, like, nobody had heard the record. And, it's just kind of crazy to think that you could book a month of shows on. I mean, they certainly were not always the highest quality of gigs,
shows,
but that was enough.
And you got out to the coast and back.
We made it back and forth.
But that, I think, like, at that time, or that, I don't know what was that, like, mid to late 90s. I mean, that, like, being 90s. On Gravity was the shit. Like, you know, like, that's like the pinnacle. Like, you were.
Yeah, I think we sent out a tape to Gravity and then one to Vermiform, and then Sam just never got back. But then the next time I saw him, he's like, "What happened? I really like the tape." I was like, "You didn't write back," so we just did it with that. But I remember being secretly jealous of Landed because there were more things on Vermiform that I probably would listen to today.
Yeah,
just like this is more fucked up in general.
But I think Vermiform and maybe Gravity was kind of the Vermiform of the West Coast ish. I mean, I don't want to compare them to, but they both had like this sort of like parallel universe thing happening.
Seemed like
you know.
Or what was that other label from out here that did a lot of weird? They did that series of like chipboard 7-inches. That were all like kind of Japanese noise.
Vinyl Communications.
Yeah.
Chula Vista.
Yeah. I've never seen that, and we had him on our. I think Bob was on our first podcast. Yeah, he's my plumber.
Oh really?
That's so cool.
Yeah, I love that.
That label had some cool. I think there was a men's recovery project.
Yep.
One. I think
he recorded
the Hana Tarash one is fucking sick.
Yeah.
What is a Hana Tarash, like 7-inch?
Oh, I don't even know that one.
Yeah.
I think there's who's the band from San Diego who lights everything on fire and
Crash
Worship?
Yeah.
I think they were. That was like the worst.
He did like like a heroin 7-inch before Gravity and stuff. So
that to me, that label seemed like kind of a weird. I don't know.
I mean, Vinyl Communications and Gravity were kind of not like intertwined, but they like all the early Gravity stuff's recorded at Vinyl Communications and like
Oh shit.
there was a lot of like cross
Yeah.
pollination. Same with Men's Recovery Project coming through and Born Against. Like
Yeah.
they all like it all kind of made sense. It made the world seem like smaller, I guess. You know.
Well, and I think we also found out like pretty early on, not coming from I guess Aaron came from more of a hardcore background, but it didn't take too many years of playing shows with just hardcore bands to realize that wasn't really our world.
Yeah.
Like a great hardcore band I love, but a mediocre one I got no time for, and it just seemed like after a while you were looking for clues to other weird or left of center music that maybe had the same kind of spirit to it, but wasn't like playing by the ebullition rule book or something like that.
So you were hip to the ebullition world, I guess, kind of, or I guess you could
a little bit.
Not
Played
be.
the Pickle Patch,
We played
right?
the Pickle Patch.
Yeah.
Um,
So you were on Steve Aoki's radar.
we have a photo of Steve Aoki standing in the back
Yeah.
of it. Like that place was just his
Our
living
apartment.
room.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Did you live there also?
No, I know.
Okay.
Fuck no. I played there, but never lived there.
Did we play? We might have played there together with like Get Hustle or something.
and everybody fucking hated all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
They
was-
didn't. They weren't.
T-Tari,
like-
Get Hustle, and Locust, like,
Yeah.
and I think we were like, we all jumped on like, you know, his, what was it, His Hero's Gone show or something. That was like the cool shit that everyone liked, and then there was all like fucked up bands that people hated, you know, and we're like, that's cool.
His Hero's Gone. That dude used to work at the pizza place in Providence. I thought they were pretty good.
No, we were psyched too.
Yeah.
But they were accepted, and everybody else wasn't. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely Get Hustle. They're just like, what the fuck is this piano shit, you know? And like, that was a rough one.
It did not. I mean, we really were not embraced in general by like the world of hardcore.
But would you consider like the start of, I mean, not the start, like the first half? I see Black Dice as like two, if that's not offensive, two things sort of, and maybe the shift was when you guys got rid of drums, right? Kind of, because you were still pretty.
It was definitely musical in a it'd become like a little bit more open-ended musically, I think, before Hisham left, but for me it's sort of like one band up through like the Trouble Man stuff, and then
What was the last Troubleman thing? The 10-inch?
I think so.
Well, then he did Cold Hands too. I think at least the CD of it. I think Ketchup Plate did the vinyl. But do you know that one? It's like 4 songs. It's got like a drone, like song on it and stuff. So that's like more approaching like a noise.
There was
kind
like
of approach.
There was like a bridge between the two.
Yeah, we recorded that with Dave Portner from
Okay.
Animal Collective actually at his house.
But also too, I remember like seeing photos of you guys playing in a greenhouse, and I was like, oh, that's like kind of next level weirdo shit, where you're like not necessarily the violent hardcore band that people made you out to be. Like you're playing in a fucking greenhouse, like.
That was, I mean, there was just like, that kind of coincided, that show, with sort of this moment where it seemed like every magazine was doing an article on New York.
Oh yeah,
Like,
because
Like
of Liars and
post 9/11.
Yeah.
Sort of. There was just like a lot of New York pride and like sort of New York spirit. And
so you would
like
get
that.
in stupid magazine articles
Yeah.
with bands that you didn't have anything in
Like-
common. Would be like us with Devendra and The Strokes and
it would be like in
Moldy
Nylon
Peaches or
something.
something like that.
So weird.
So I felt like there was a good couple of years where
Well, plus Hisham too, because he had like the fashion ins and whatnot. So like that was something that like sort of just seemed like it just happened, like from my perspective. But then like when he wasn't in the band anymore, that stuff didn't happen at all.
Yeah.
You know. So like he was always kind of like friends with people that were doing magazines, and my friend has this art show, my friend has this fashion show, or something like that. So there was a lot of stuff that it just kind of seemed like it was happening, but like it was because of Hisham. I mean, he's like social media before social media, just like his person. He knew everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the San Diego connection as well.
Yeah, and so it's weird because I feel like I love both, I guess, elements of Black Dice, and I think it's so awesome that you were able to like dominate each one, not dominate, but like kick ass in both like versions of the band, even though there is the bridge, and I think it's a linear thing, but like it's kind of like the two parallels, like, and I think that's hard for most bands to do. A lot of people can't do it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Cheers.
I think we just lucked out that we all enjoy. I mean, we're 25 years old this year, so the fact that like we're still friends with everybody who was in the band at any point, and then we still enjoy doing this. I mean, in some respects, for me, I feel like the last year and a half was sort of put a lot of stuff in perspective, where kind of just reminded myself that like I'm actually just lucky to be able to do this shit. Like even if like you never make $1 off of it, or it's a pain in the ass to figure out how to coordinate to get together, to get in a van and play a bunch of shows, like it's still worth it. So I feel like in a lot of respects we just have been
like the pandemic
really
made
fortunate.
you appreciate things that we were taking for granted.
Yeah, I mean, who knows how long that'll last? Like, I'm sure my attitude will fucking it might be salty by the time we're over. But no, it did make. I mean, there was periods where I'm just like, I would pay $300 to see like a mediocre band. Tonight, like even if it's some fucking whatever Sublime cover band or something like that.
You heard
like,
a Sublime cover.
Yeah, watch
know,
out!
that's why
That's San Diego Pride. Watch out, dude.
Dude, the Sublime behind the music is a heavy one.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know much. Yeah.
I know. I mean, for us, that's the equivalent of where we grew up would be Fish. Like someone talking about Fish as like hometown heroes.
Yeah.
Even though they weren't from Maine, but like where I can't get down with any of aspect of that.
Well, wait. Let me throw you under the bus then. What's your deal with your newfound love for
The Dead?
the Dead?
I've been
like
working...
current Dead or just like liking the old stuff?
No,
because they're still playing, right?
That's Dead and Company. It's not.
Okay.
Yeah, come on, dude.
I don't know.
It's only got like 2 original.
I know. It's weird.
I appreciate that they do it, because I think a lot of people love it, and I think it kind of scratches an itch for certain people.
Yeah.
But I work at a desk most of the time now, and I need something, and I feel like I got into like big archives, and so the Dead was the first, and then I got into the Sun Ra Orchestra. And then, but both of them, I feel like you can go for fucking ever, you know, like it's endless supplies of recordings, endless eras, endless like directions. I don't know. It's just like, I feel like it's something I can wrap my brain around without having to like choose that much.
Okay. So it's like discovering the Star Wars universe, and you can go like do whatever.
In some ways, they're like superheroes in the Dead, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, and they're, you know, this, I shouldn't, these guys are going to hate me, but I feel like I keep thinking that every generation has their Dead. And I feel like Black Flag is kind of a Dead band, and Fugazi was kind of a Dead band. You know, like these bands are kind of counterculture. They have a community. They have like ticket prices that are affordable. They tore their ass off.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to see them. They're great at what they do, you know? And I don't know if that exists anymore. I don't know if bands are the same. I think you have to be young enough to, you know, do some of that work.
But to get your ass out of bed.
But I don't know, all that stuff I kind of find fascinating with them. You know, they're like a counterculture that turned into a subculture. That's a success.
I think it's a phenomenon. They're completely fascinating. The fact that there's sort of like a criminal component to the whole organization, and sort of like a lot of mad scientists involved in, or I guess maybe just one, but as far as just like developing gear and stuff for them.
Yeah. Well, I always tripped out on like the like sort of parking lot aspect, like, you know, like it doesn't even like, there's deadheads that I've met that like don't give a fuck about the music, you know, and I'm like, then what's the point? And they're like, you know, why latch onto this thing? It is supposed to be about the music, but then maybe not, you know, maybe it's just kind of like the soundtrack for the culture.
I also just, with a lot of musical subcultures, I just don't feel like I was ever on like the right drugs for them. Like there's a lot of, like, I don't know what drugs you have to be on to get into a Fish show. I mean, like, I don't know what
they just played, I think, like yesterday.
Here?
Yeah, in Chula Vista at the fucking amphitheater.
Dude, I
like
mean, that
2 days ago or something.
Yeah. Or a lot of club music, I feel like, is like that too. When, at least growing up in Maine, if I heard 808 State or something like that, none of that would make sense at all. Because
no place to put it in our culture there.
There was no places where people congregated at night.
Yeah.
So the idea of having like coked up, eat up soundtrack to lubricate a specific type of social event like didn't make any sense at all. And I think for us, like it happened to be like kind of an interesting moment in Providence when we were starting, of kind of like, I don't know, maybe music with kind of a slightly bad attitude to it, where the performances were all like over the top and dangerous and stuff like that. So those
you like get reference it like
Landed,
yeah, like the Fort Thunder,
whole Fort Thunder thing, and then Airborne Radar and Six Finger Satellite and Hydrogen Terrors and stuff like that. So I feel like for us, like the biggest musical influences were not. It wasn't like a scene of music that we grew up listening to. It was just sort of like knowing these people personally because you saw them around Providence, and then going to see their sort of fucked up shows.
But high quality.
Yeah, really high quality.
I mean,
I think it
feel like
set the bar way too high.
Some of that force field stuff, or I mean, even having like a Brian Chippendale or like a Gabe
Serbian.
Yeah, both of those guys are like fucking superheroes, you know? Like they don't.
There's a lot of
young,
superhero
they're
drummers in that era.
Yeah, like 20 years old, and I feel like they're professional athletes on top of being sort of nuts.
Yeah.
And
Or who's that dude from who plays in Earthless out here? Who was
Mario Rubalcaba.
Yeah, he seemed like it seemed like there's a couple West Coast dudes.
Yeah.
the Deerhoof guy.
Yeah,
I feel like he's
Mario's
one
kind of
them.
fucked up in a good way because you're like, oh, you're a professional skater and you're like the rippingest drummer ever, and like it's like, how do you get two super?
That's not fair.
Yeah,
I think about that.
You
sometimes.
get one, you don't get two. It's fucking bullshit.
We're watching that Summer of Soul documentary. I don't know if you've seen
it's
that
so
yet.
good.
But there's parts of it where you're just like, this isn't fair. Like this one motherfucker shouldn't have this much talent.
Yeah.
Like this could be distributed to 200 people.
Well,
and it would be still really good.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
was bullshit. Watching him play drums, I was like, dude.
Oh, I know that.
is
That
going
blew
on?
my fucking mind.
I mean, the first record I ever bought was a Stevie Wonder record when I was like 5, and I like Stevie Wonder enough as like a 5-year-old, and I think I like Stevie Wonder, but like I didn't know that he could play like that on drums. I was just like, what
Dude, he's
the
a beast on everything.
fuck? That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, no.
I think he's the drummer on like Superstition and stuff.
No,
Really?
that's Superstition is Jeff Beck, I think, plays.
What's he maybe that In the City? He did one of his big hits like
Drumming
You've
it,
seen
too.
that like Stevie Wonder clip on Sesame Street where he does Superstition, like in
Yes.
front of Mr. Hooper's store. But there's like one kid who just reminds me of what I picture Aaron looking like as a little kid who's just got like this long mane who's just going like fucking ape shit on the fire escape. I mean, for that alone, I feel like you have to be a Stevie Wonder fan. Just if you can get a 6-year-old to look like they're about to tear the fire escape off, they're so pumped.
Yeah. Well, how did you get, like, what happened with T-Tari? Like, did you guys break up and then you joined Black Dice, or did you move, or what happened?
Yeah, so like I was doing T-Tari, and like Jason had like a bit of a drug problem, and like, you know, he had to keep like leaving town to like see if he could clean up or get his life together or whatever, and I just felt like I was like maybe gonna blow it, like just in life, you know, like, and I kind of felt like I needed to.
And you were with like Mike Crane and Chris Hathwell, like you were with like the worst of the worst.
dude, it was so nuts. I mean, like those dudes were like the first people that like I met like in LA, like, you know, like we met at Jabberjaw. And I worked with Mike Crane at like Gil Turner's in Beverly Hills.
That's the alcohol distributor or something.
No, it was like a
Liquor store?
swanky like Beverly Hills like West Hollywood liquor store.
Yeah.
And you would like
Deliver
deliver
like
to the
celebrities.
stars. Yeah. And they would all come in and stuff, and everyone's just like wasted like the whole time. Like you could work there, waste it. You just like have whatever you wanted like from the store to eat and drink, and
fuck?
it was the wildest time. And then, you know, like Mike found this apartment in like MacArthur Park. Did you ever go there? Yeah, with the rehearsal studio in it. Like he found it in the recycler, and like some other band had lived there or something like that. And so like I had the money because I had the job with him, and so me and Chris moved into that spot, and then Greem and Jason moved into a different apartment upstairs, and Mike like slept in the closet or something like that. Like and it just got real, like it just got super seedy. Like, you know, we lived there for about a year, and shit just went
bad
off the rails completely. So like and then like after a while, like, you know, I'm like, meanwhile, like Titari like had like the GSL record, and then we even made this other record, but it didn't quite come out while we were a band still, and we like did some tour. We did like U.S. tours and stuff. We did like 2 U.S. tours, and like we were gonna do this like European tour, but we didn't have work permits, and they sent us back or whatever. But so like
you went there and didn't get in.
Dude, we went there, yeah. Like, it was wild.
Yeah.
But it's probably just as well. It was like the one tour that like if
probably
I'd gone
should've
on
happened,
it, like
yeah.
I might have died on it or something. Like it was just like it was too rugged, I think. But yeah, so yeah, late era Titari, it was just getting really scrappy, you know, like we would play some shows and stuff, but like there just wasn't enough going on. And I remember really liking New York, and I was just like, how can I get out to New York? And then I was like, well, maybe I need to go back to school. And so like on a lark, I just applied to film school at NYU. I was taking some classes at LACC, and I got in, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And so like we recorded the last Titari record, played the last Titari show. It was at the Smell in the Valley, and Chris Hathwell and Jimmy Hay came to the show, and they were like, oh, you should look up these dudes in Black Dice, because they're really cool. And like I'd heard of the show at like the PCH Club and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, these guys sound awesome. I didn't go to the shows or anything, but I heard about them.
Not that awesome.
Like I didn't have a car like at that time, so like I couldn't just go to a show, you
Yeah.
know, if I wanted to. So like, but I remember hearing about it that night, like because all these people went to, I think like Jimmy and Chris went, and so yeah, so I got to NYU, and I was just like walking around the campus. I didn't know anyone. I had these guys' phone number in my pocket, but I hadn't called them yet. And I saw there was like a Black Dice show at NYU, and I was like, oh, sick. I'll go check it out. And I did, and it was fucking awesome. And like I had a blast. Like I was just like, I haven't been to a show where like I just had like a smile on my face, because I was just, it made me feel like the first like hardcore show I ever went to, you know.
Yeah.
Like it just, like I just didn't know if I was gonna get hit by a microphone,
Yeah.
or like, you know, like it was just really fun. And like NYU, the show is super whack. Like it's just like a student center. It's not cool in any way at all. So like it was a pretty wild show for like, you know, being in the student center and stuff. And so just said, hey, what's up? I'm friends with Jimmy and Chris Hathwell.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just started hanging out. Like I didn't like have a place to live when I moved out there. I was just like staying at this like girl's cousin's house, and like I rented a couch for like $100 a week or something like that.
Really?
Yeah,
You could do that?
Yeah. And like, but then what happened is then like that the dude who actually lived in the place like came home and was like, what the fuck, you're out now. And so like I had to just move out like 1 day's notice.
Yeah.
And I was like walking around the village. I was like, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have anywhere to go. And Hisham used to work at this like used clothing store, and I stopped in there, and I was just like, oh yeah, I don't have a place to stay. He's like, oh, you can stay at my place. And so Bjorn lived there, and it was like this big loft in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And so they let me stay like that night, and I just stayed there for like 6 months. Or
I
something
had
like
been
that.
there once. I don't know what the Locust was doing, but I remember going there in the morning I don't know what, it was
You
weird.
walked in through a garage, and then there was the...
Yeah.
A big tiger painted on
Yeah.
the wall.
I don't know. I don't remember that, but I do remember just going there once.
Yeah, I wonder what that... We lucked into that. And so Aaron we met him, and then like a couple days later, he showed up with a shopping cart with all of his shit.
Oh, yeah.
And then our old bass player quit.
He
And then
quit because
Aaron
joined. He hated the violent thing, right? Or was that what
No,
it
it
was?
mostly just was like, didn't want to leave his lady. And didn't... I think he was happier when he's just like painting all day. So I remember the last tour we did with him, he was just like, I miss... he was just like sad and lonely the whole time. And then I think he missed a couple practices, and so we had a call with him, and then Aaron joined basically within like 5 minutes of that. He was just sort of like, I wouldn't mind... I could maybe play bass on a couple of these things. So it just happened super effortlessly. And then the fact that that we had already met you, and he already knew Sonny, and like there was, and knew Chris, and
How did you guys know like Chris and I mean you obviously you knew him, but like how did you guys know those guys and like Jimmy Hay?
We knew Jimmy because of Tristeza.
Oh yeah, we played a show with Tristeza in DC.
He
With some
played
slapping.
something in that.
He played bass in it for a minute, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and
It was a weird fucking show.
I don't think he was getting along with the band at the time. And I feel
Yeah.
like and he kind of took a shine to us.
And then I think so we met him there. It was
Jimmy
like,
Hay was kind of like a Mario Rubalcaba too. You're like, oh, you can do all these instruments and you just rip at everything.
Yeah,
like,
without a doubt.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, he basically, I think we had only hung out with him that one time, and then the next time we came out here, I don't remember if you remember, we like drank all this cough syrup.
Oh yeah, and you barfed.
That was Jimmy. That was not us. That was like we drank a bunch of Del Sol.
Oh, this is a good story because it was the house. It's funny because there's a book written about that house called Locust House, which is kind of weird because it wasn't really. I think I was the only person. Man, other people in Locust did live in there, but it wasn't really like the Locust House.
Yeah.
But whatever. So, but it's funny because Jimmy Hay was dating my roommate, and I think he like passed out at her door and barfed whatever that. What were you guys? It was like
It was
Robitussin.
Delsum.
Yeah.
That
So he
was-
barfed and it like went under the door. so his ex just like opens the door and there's like barf and Jimmy and like you guys.
Well, it just seemed like a bad idea. In
You all
retrospect,
barfed, right?
everything about
Everybody
it.
barfed.
I barfed. I was up the whole night, and I remember like it felt like it took like an hour to get down the hallway
Yeah.
to the bathroom because there was a lot of just sort of like bracing and stuff. I was convinced that Eric was dead.
That's right. You woke me up like every 5
Yeah, are you okay? And then Jimmy had. That was the thing. He's like, I heard you guys like Robitussin. So we were just like, I guess so. Yeah, we do. And so we drove him to a pharmacy. I'm guessing he just went in and grabbed everything. I don't think it was. He shelled out $60 for cough.
Yeah.
But I just remember being at that house and not. I was like, I know JP, but I don't know
Yeah.
any of these other dudes.
No
We're
one
the-
gave a shit.
We were the only ones that
except
weren't
Jimmy's
like
ex.
in black and white.
Yeah.
Also, like
Yeah.
like we would come here and we'd be in colors.
Yeah.
And, but I remember Jimmy. I remember hearing him puking in the middle of the night and just being like, "This guy seemed pretty nice, but
Yeah.
there's no way I can even get my ass up to check.
Yeah.
Roll this guy over." But I do remember where he was like curled up, like in front of Christine or
Yeah, Christine. Yeah.
I remember he had puke in his hair.
And then he rolled with us because we were still tripping the next.
So
I still
Jimmy
felt like
Jimmy
shit.
Hay. I mean, I don't think you knew him, but he was a fucking weird one. I love that guy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he's even weirder now. But he was so weird. Like he would shave his entire body, and he didn't live in my house. He lived downstairs. But he'd come into my fucking bathroom and be in there for hours shaving everything.
Dude, long showers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he lived in New York when like the Rapture came out.
Oh, yeah.
And because like I was staying at their place, and then they started staying there too. And like we'd be like, all right, let's go out, like, you know, and we'd be like have some plans or whatever, and like, dude, like an hour
Well,
and a half.
that shower was also in the kitchen, basically, too. So it was sort of you were just
Why
sitting
do you
there,
have to
just
shave
like,
everything. Just go, dude. Like, get out of my bathroom. But I do remember when he was with Tristeza. They played in Berkeley with. I don't think they played with the Locust, but we were up there, and I just remember seeing. They were supposed to go on, and like I don't know what drug he did, and maybe you guys would know. I wish I knew what drug he was on, because like this is fucking hilarious because he couldn't get across the street, and he was crawling, and there was like cars honking at him, and he's like, "Help!" I'm like, just fucking stand up and walk, dude. It's like two lane street, you know. And I was like, good luck playing bass in a fucking. I mean, that music was pretty complicated, you know. Like I was like, good luck. You can't even walk across the fucking 2 lanes of the street.
That's awesome.
But that's Jimmy
Yeah,
Hay.
he's DJing tomorrow night. I'm
Yeah,
so
I saw-
psyched.
yeah.
It's
He's still
great.
around.
Yeah,
he
no.
transcended and went like
Yeah.
he got all like woo woo and in a cool weird
yeah,
way.
yeah, no, he's
Very
taking a
enlightened.
proactive stance on some of his
Yeah.
his stuff. But he was definitely one of the first kind of West Coast people that took a shine to us, and then
Yeah.
we got along with really well.
And then you guys mentioned the Rapture, which I completely forgot about because there was like a link between like I mean you guys knew all the Rapture guys, and then they were, you know, Luke was from San Diego.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
played with
Luke-
the Calculators a bunch of times.
Which who from was that?
Luke was in, or were both of them.
Luke and Vito.
They were in the Calculators, or were they in
From LA?
Carpet?
Well, Carpet.
Carpet.
Oh yeah, maybe they're not
I
in the
think they were in
Calculators.
both of them.
Carpet was a great. That's a
maybe
great
I'm
name for a
misspeaking.
band.
That's some
I'm not
serious
sure.
90s shit right there.
Really?
Yeah, like, just like
Yeah.
No, it was a calculator.
Is that right? Am I right?
I'm sure there's a band called the Calculators.
Sure there
There
are.
is.
No,
Yeah.
there is.
Yeah.
I'm just now I'm questioning if they're in that band or not.
Well, and then either way, like,
I think so.
fuck, I don't think the Calculators was, but the Rapture had the GS or the Gravity,
Centimeters.
Yeah.
maybe, and the GSL
that's
link
New
too.
York.
I think the only thing...
No, that's L.A.
I think we didn't know them when they moved out to the East Coast. Like, we knew Jimmy. He was playing drums. We had a show booked with them in Providence.
So Jimmy Hay was in the Rapture too.
Yeah, he was playing bass.
But he was in the
Damn.
Rapture.
Playing bass.
Yeah. What did I say? Drums?
Yeah.
So
like-
then those guys just ended up staying. There's a lot of bands that I don't think had places to stay when they came to New York and ended up crashing
Yeah.
there, because I think
It's rough there.
Chick,
You
chick,
don't
chick,
live like
chick,
fucking
yeah.
roaches, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, oh, you can sleep in that corner.
well, I don't know how kids do it now. At least that place was big enough that you could have like a band staying in one half of the apartment, and it wasn't going to be a total. It wouldn't fuck up everyone's life. who
Yeah.
lived there.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that was how we met those dudes. Although never had any musical. There was no.
We played some shows.
Oh, we played lots of shows.
Yeah,
we did
yeah.
like a tour.
But that was just because we were friends. I would say that was more because of friends than feeling like we were on the same page.
Oh, yeah.
But then that was also like why we like
got on
DFA because they were working at DFA already.
But your DFA stuff, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like you departed from hardcore. It was like not as abrasive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a really abrasive live. I mean, I think some of the recordings make it sound like it was super...
Can we talk
Mellow
about how
and
you guys
dreamy.
go about doing all that shit? Because I remember, seeing you guys play was awesome, and trying to figure out how you recreate the album. And then I remember, for whatever reason, you guys had a rehearsal space at Downtown Rehearsal in LA.
Oh, yeah, for a little bit with
Yeah,
you guys.
and with
Retox, wasn't it?
yeah, but you never were there, and I was never there either because I lived
Yeah,
here.
we were-
But you
go
got
in-
us the spot, I think.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
remember
it was
going
like-
into we had rehearsal once, and I remember all of your gear being there. And I probably am imagining this wrong. I feel like it was like in a box that said, or maybe someone told me there was black dice, but it was like this box of just like tons of pedals, and it was just looked like a fucking disaster. And I was like, what? How do they use all this shit, man? This is crazy. Like it's the most pedals I've ever seen in a box, and it looked all fucked up and like I don't know.
All of our gear is not... We can't resell any piece of equipment that
That's
we
so
use.
cool, though.
They just get covered with shit and tape residue and broken knobs. And
But that's what it says you're doing. You're doing it justice, right?
I think Eric and I could step up the investing in ourselves part of life. We don't buy ourselves
I don't
anything.
think we've bought a piece of gear for like 20 years.
That's
like,
so
at
cool.
all.
Eric, the other, like 2 weeks before he came out, he's like, oh yeah, so I pawned my mixer.
No, I didn't. That makes me sound bad. I left it.
You straight up said you pawned it, and I was like, how much can you get for a fucking 10-year-old Mackie mixer? Half the
pawn
knobs
it.
broken with a
that's
missing
not-
foundation sticker on the front of it. Like I mean, you couldn't even trade that for a bag of weed to like the most down and out.
I didn't. I just
motherfucker.
didn't. I couldn't pack it in. Like I was taking an airplane. It was too heavy. I had to choose wisely.
Eric complains if he has to bring anything on.
Just
it.
right now. Just right now.
Well, what kind of gear do you use then?
A mixer. That's honestly like now I have a sampler, like one of those 404s, and I have this kind of shitty rack mount delay that there's something in the wiring that I like.
You'll never be able to find the same thing again.
I've tried it with like the pedal version and it doesn't do the same. Like if I do mixer feedback, it gives it like this different tone than if I've used other things. So unfortunately, I'm sort of wed to that, which is the biggest pain in the ass because it is just like a big old like late mid 90s maybe. Rack
I
mount.
also think anytime we've taken the initiative and we're just like, I'm just gonna have someone build me exactly what I want.
Yeah.
It fucking backfires in the end. Like it doesn't work. Or like Aaron had this road case built that like in his mind was like this perfect thing. It's just you just put it on the keyboard stand, you open it up, everything's
Years.
plugged in.
Yeah.
Power amp is right here.
Years in the making.
It never works.
Contracted this
It weighed
dude
like
to make
80
it.
pounds, but only the weight was all on one side. So you try to pick it up with somebody else, and it
Yeah,
just
it
would
would
like
break you.
rip your fucking hand off basically. And I think the first time we tried to take it anywhere was to Europe.
Yeah,
So got to the
'cause-
airport and they were just like, this is gonna be like $150 to get this.
Because you're not using a bass anymore, huh?
Oh no, haven't for a long time. Yeah.
But you still have a guitar. Like, is that the only like?
I just got a new one. I sold all my guitars a long time ago.
So it's
and
guitar and then just all like effects and
guitars, a couple samplers, mixer feedback,
Microphones.
vocals. It's really like it's dumbed down.
Yeah.
I mean, when we see friends' setups, what we have is so primitive, but it's what we know how to use, and I mean, and again, it's like mostly what has been gifted.
I'm kind of misusing the electronics. I feel like most of the time it's to get it really tight. You know, It's like you have a drum machine and it never loses the BPM or whatever. I don't think we use electronics though.
No.
I feel like we're kind of like cobbling everything together.
Yeah, everything's synced up in theory, but it's like you're triggering everything manually. So
and so does it change like from night to night?
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of. It changes from every time. Every time we play it, it does not. It's like we took like the session of the song and just like farmed out all these little bits and pieces to everyone, and it's like you play the bass and I'll play the drums on this like loop, you know.
Oh,
it's like no one does that, you know, because it's like dumb, you know. But it's also because it's kind of fun because it's like. It's so hard to do, you know, and so it's like it feels like you're playing a bass still, you know, because you can fuck up and it sounds wrong, you know what I mean? Because like a lot of times when you're playing like sequence music, you can't ever fuck up.
Oh yeah,
you're just hitting play.
Yeah, wow. I mean, Luke does that. He uses 2 of the MPCs, and it's kind of people get pretty psyched the fact that he has 2, but it is funny. Like if he gets a little drunk, it's like, oh, you're kind of fucking up.
Fuck up all the time.
I feel like it's amazing how different everyone's approach is to using MPCs. Like, I mean, because I have no understanding really of how. I mean, I know what they can do, but I feel like get used to how Aaron goes about making music or his contributions for the band, and then you'll watch some like YouTube tutorial with some like 12-year-old hip hop kid who is just like, oh, it's easy, you just gotta do this, and or I guess there'd been all those Jay Dilla ones about how
he's the master of the 4/4.
non-quantized.
But it's like how you said, you would think in theory that everything is going to sync up and everything's going to go perfect, but
Never.
If I hit the wrong, it fucks the whole song up.
I have a problem on. I don't use that, but like you can link the internal effects to like multiple pads on mine, but if you pick the wrong one that's like slightly longer, it changes the rate, so it kind of makes it shitty for both like what you're using, what you're trying to use, and you're like, oh fuck.
And when you're in there, you can't hold on.
Someone recently or the other day kept turning the tripping the fuse for our room when we were practicing. We're having neighbor problems, and just having to sit there and wait for the thing to reload because you didn't shut it down properly. It's fucking annoying.
The first time I ever watched a band go through that, like experienced was Men's Recovery Project, and I remember it was at the fucking library, Huntington Beach Library, and a friend of mine, I won't name her name, she walked by and unplugged Neil's stuff.
Nice.
And they couldn't reboot it or whatever. I don't know exactly what he was playing through.
Oh my God.
So there's a video of it on YouTube. It's great. And he's like, fuck it. Traditional hardcore band, you know, and they played like their other set, you know, like
The Gravity set.
Yeah. Which everybody was psyched on regardless, but it was like, what? How did that happen? Just because it got unplugged, they can't play any of their shit.
There was like a real adjustment period where people had to. I think I always had the incorrect assumption that like anybody that was using computers or samplers or any of these things that it was somehow like a cheat.
Unless you're a DJ.
Yeah, but then once you start fucking with this stuff, you realize like there's like a total skill set to doing these things. It's not just sort of like a brainless band member that you lug in and out.
Yeah.
But
unless you're Steve Aoki.
Dude,
that guy can perform with pies and surfboards and all kinds of shit. And he never misses a beat.
No.
Yeah.
I mean that stuff. I think I have a different sympathy for anybody playing music at the moment. I mean, I feel like when like old bands that are still plugging away, like maybe 10 years ago, I would have just been like, "What's the point? You guys suck." Now I'm just sort of like, well, whatever. It's their life, and you like if
they're
that's
trying something.
Yeah, and if that's what gets you off is playing, then I support that. Or like watching bands completely tank because of like a power thing. I mean, I think in the past I would have had a dick attitude.
The last time I saw you guys play was at that Eagle Rock Center. I forgot.
Oh
what-
yeah.
We were having NPC problems with that.
Yeah.
But I remember like
We were.
I remember you guys getting pissed at your cell or the set, but I was like, I want to just get up there and look at everything. What the fuck's happening? You know, I just just want to like wrap my head around it. So I'm excited to see you guys play.
It's just stealing little bits.
What?
Stealing little bits off of YouTube, pitching them down or pitching them up, hit and play at the right time. So,
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
dude, YouTube has changed the game as far as
You can get any kind of sound, anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a good sound library, to be sure.
it might explain
Funky drum.
Yep. I like funky bass synth parts where you just go to some dude who lives with his mom. He just makes tutorials on this stuff, and you can just be like, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
You can hear echo in his room.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, take it.
No, it's fucking great for that. But that was 13 years ago, or no, that was in 2013. I think was that the last time we played LA? Like.
No,
On tour?
We played LA 7 years ago.
But that was the last time in the van.
Yeah, when we were in New York. Yeah, sure.
Because I mean, I still have photos of you and I up on that. That was the one where we got all that covered in that fungus.
Oh, the tour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember Eric and I got this fungus that just was mean. I don't know what covered the entire body. It spelled out Eric's initials across his chest, like just these mutant, like fungi letters.
It's happened twice to me.
Wow.
But I remember
One time on my leg. Also, it was some that was ringworm, and it said EAC.
What the hell?
Didn't feel right. The second time felt more wrong. I was just like,
Well, you've had the fungus twice and it spelled out your initials on you.
yeah,
That's-
but not like unclearly. Like it was, and E is pretty specific. You know, like
Yeah,
AAC.
yeah.
It was all happening.
What the fuck?
I remember looking at comparing them on the roof of the Eagle Rock place.
Oh yeah.
So this was your first show then? Tonight?
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's like Aaron and I mean, Eric's played a ton of shows solo.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then Aaron and I played a handful of shows, just the two of us. But this is
The last Black Dice show was in like 2018, probably.
Oh, that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah,
then.
we played at PS1 in New York, and we played in LA, and that's like when we were working on the record at that time. I mean, we've been writing the tunes very slowly, for a number of years now. Collecting the material, and just us not living in the same city has just slowed things down.
Sure.
A lot.
And so, what do you guys think? Like, I don't know. Like, what would you do? Like, how do I say this? Like, what's Black Dice now? I mean, it's still the same, but like, is it another? Are you guys going in like another direction, or
it's just
do you
two
have
middle-aged dicks just trying to hold it together.
I think it's a way more casual approach, personally. Like, I just want us to get through it the way we know how. I don't have any expectations, like,
Yeah.
about,
Yeah, but what were your expectations back in the day? I don't think I ever had any. I was just like, as long as we.
You want, like, good shows. That's a realistic expectation. You're like, I want people to show up. I want to get paid pretty well. I'd love to have, like, not douchebags at the show.
Like,
like,
there is a backstage. At
yeah,
the
like,
venue.
have it feel like a rad party. Those, I feel like, felt important. Now I'm just like, I just hope we get to the show.
Hope it wraps early.
Hope everything turns on, and
Yeah.
it's an early one. Fantastic.
I feel like the reviews for this record basically could be applied to any other record we did. Like, people still write about it like it's the weirdest sounding music they've ever heard. And
Cool.
at this point, I don't really see how that's possible. We've been doing basically the same thing.
Yeah, and we were listening to the radio on the way down. It was strange music.
Well, that was because that one song was cutting out the whole time, so it just sounded like this really abstract electronic beat.
But that Sammy Hagar song was strange.
Yeah.
Moss
that was-
Tequila. Do you know?
Oh
that
no!
song? So fucking. It was so long.
Why were you guys listening to
We
that?
just have the radio.
I don't know. We hadn't.
Yeah, I haven't listened to the radio for a long ass
Yeah.
time, so it was a trip.
But then we heard No Doubt, Sublime.
Yeah, we heard Lana
God,
Del
you guys
Rey.
were listening to the
Lana
wrong
Del Rey.
fucking
Sublime.
station.
We
man.
wanted to get the pulse of San Diego.
Local
So
flavors.
figured.
Can I just say fuck off?
Is No Doubt from San Diego?
Orange County.
Yeah.
They're definitely like Anaheim or something, or I don't know, whatever.
That's where Chain Reaction is, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
But they saw some shows at Chain Reaction.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm playing there tomorrow.
I
Oh,
saw
really?
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
shit.
killer.
I haven't played there in I don't even know how long. Like it's been quite a while.
It's crazy how many places are still around that.
They were like gone and now they're back somehow. Which,
Is it the same space?
yeah, I think
Oh,
so.
wow.
Yeah,
But they did a lot. Don't they do kind of like a lot of like emo
probably.
sort of? That's like the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
The emo
like
thing
that.
was just sort of like the worst part of the 90s.
Yeah.
I feel like. And that probably both of our bands got stuck playing with occasionally.
Oh,
where you're just
way
like,
too occasionally.
Yeah, where you're just like, this sucks. Like, this is the worst shit. This guy's crying on stage.
Yeah.
Doesn't need a mic because he can scream so passionately without it. Like,
Dude.
that sort of shit was...
I think we both played shows with those kind of bands, like together.
They were never psyched on us. That's
Like,
for
why
sure.
were they playing with Black Dice and the Locust? It's not fair to us.
Who was the band from Phoenix that was really... Sia Cortez? When we played with those dudes?
It was before my time, but I
remember
also
seeing
played
Cortez.
with those.
That was sort of like...
Yeah.
Maybe that's not super emo-y, but it seemed like there was a lot of... Like,
Oh,
kind of
man.
mathy with, like, a lot of big emotional peaks and
Yeah.
valleys.
Even just a little tiny bit of emo seems like a lot of emo.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
A little bit goes a long
It's a
way.
potent flavor.
Yeah.
But it's kind of weird because then there's like the term screamo, and I fucking cringe at that shit. And I'm
Yeah, that
and
one's cringy.
I mean those. I guess bands that I was in fits into that category. I'm like, what the fuck? When we were doing that, it didn't exist. But like Aaron Montaigne, he just embraces that term and like calls everything screamo. And I'm like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you're never gonna hear me say like, yeah, I was in a screamo band. Like he'll just say he said like Antioch Arrow was like screamo.
Dude, I would never say that.
That's
I mean, I would
bullshit.
never say that about Antioch Arrow.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
I get why.
I mean, like just because like they're so beyond that. You
Yeah.
know, they're so weird.
Yeah.
They're such a just.
I mean, I think that like that probably was a starting point to where it mutated. You know, unfortunately mutated to like that kind of music.
Well, I
can be
think a lot of
traced-
people, when they started out in sort of hardcore or in, like within the hardcore scene, even though their tastes were expanding, like, and you knew that there were these bands that were not listening to hardcore music, but they were still playing those sorts of shows, felt like it took a while to like fully break out of like all the trappings of hardcore stuff. You know what I mean? So you had bands that were essentially hardcore bands, but there would be some little tweak to it that made it seem a little more fucked. Like that band,
Total Shutdown.
A Total Shutdown.
Go,
Who's
Go,
the one
Go.
from
good band for
down
sure.
here?
Go, go, go.
Go Go Go. Like Go 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 Earhart seemed like that kind of band where it's like you could tell they're listening to Can and
Yeah,
This Heat and all this sort of stuff, but that it still feels like it's being made by hardcore. It just took long to break out of it. 'cause
Yeah.
if you did it too fast, you wouldn't be able to get a show anywhere. I mean, it's totally true. Felt like we would have changed faster.
you would have
some
wanted to, or like at the time you thought about it, but you had
Well,
to
compared to those bands that we mentioned from Providence, I felt like kind of square by comparison. Like, I mean, those were all dudes who had been in bands for a long ass
and they were like
so-
already doing weird shit. Right
Yeah,
away.
they were like effortlessly doing weird stuff, and
Yeah.
I was not able to play music well enough to do. Like, it would have felt like cheating to. I didn't know how to play well enough to make the decision to
Yeah.
play.
Well, I always
intensely
tripped
off.
out like on that Providence side of things, like where I would see Drop Dead and Airborne Radar, who liked each other a lot and were friends and played a lot, and you're like, and Drop Dead's like a classic traditional,
Yeah.
hardcore, and then Airborne Radar was like the most fucked up thing ever, and it was like it made sense for them, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So you can be weird or normal or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it, and be. I don't want to say the word successful, but like like function and have people like you or enjoy you.
Well, I think also in a smaller town, maybe that's like more possible because there's not like such a massive music community.
which
there that
which
you
is
could
a lot
be
like
really-
San Diego, because we could do whatever we wanted here.
Yeah, I watched that San Diego documentary pretty recently.
It's gonna blow.
I think that's what
Yeah.
it's called.
which is cool too. But also, and that guy is the director is a friend of mine. And I think it's a good film, but it is really like. It is really like Rock from the Crypt, John Reese kind of, but like, you know, they're like, oh, Gravity Records, and then they're gone. And you're like, no, like we should really do the whole
I thought that would be like 30 minutes of
the
it.
world is waiting for that documentary.
The Gravity Records one. Yeah.
I mean, dude, I watched the heck out of that.
Is Matt still in San Diego?
Yeah, I figured maybe you guys would hit him up or something.
I haven't talked with him in years. The only time I think I met him, he was super nice. But he wanted to come out to Providence to record us. When he was like, I want to do the record, aka a 7-inch.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want to come out, record you guys, but I've just heard so many stories that it seemed like maybe he was in a complicated life place at the moment.
Oh, you mean with drugs?
Yeah. So it just sort of seemed like maybe it's better to get somebody local to record us than it was to meet up with him.
Yeah.
At the time, it was just sort of like, it's like, I heard about that dude. He did this. You know,
some of that's true.
I kind of felt like it. I don't really know who listens to this, so I don't want to really call out everybody.
I think everybody's fine that like maybe they've come to terms with it, you know.
Yeah.
But are you talking about the Brett Frost story?
Is that the one where there's like the shotgun?
Yeah, broken knee caps and all that. Yeah, that's a real story.
That was the one where I was like, I don't know if I want this dude to stay with me. Yeah. I also didn't want him to realize that I couldn't play guitar. Like if the guy who's putting the record out came out and saw that it took me like 3 hours to go like do 3 chords, then he might withdraw his offer. So that was the other one where I was like, I don't want this dude kneecapping my brother, and then I don't want him to realize that like.
Well, if you don't steal his heroin, you won't kneecap anybody. But there's that.
That's true. I always forget that.
But it is kind of funny because Gravity or Matt and that world had its stories and so did you guys. So that's fine. It's kind of funny that like it all. Half of it's always true. I mean, there's always like. Even like the Mike Crane stories, you know, like that fucking guy, he hit me up when we were gonna do a Festival of Dead Deer record, and he called me, he's like, I need $500, we're at the studio right now, like recording, and I was like, what? And then this is like, I mean, I was maybe 22, and I was like, $500, like, I mean, okay, but that's a lot of money, you know. And then
for you to smoke.
A few minutes later, you know, Chris Hathawell's like, you talked to Mike lately? And I'm like, yeah, he just said you guys are recording. And he's like, he fucking stole all our gear and pawned it and left to Michigan and this and that, and like. You know, well, it was all, you know, I was like, oh, I didn't send him any money, but it's just crazy that, like, someone that I was friends with was trying to dupe me for $500 to go shoot dope, you know, or buy dope. So,
yeah luckily, we were grateful we didn't have any of those.
I'm grateful that, like, folks have made it through that, you know.
No shit.
It's fucking awesome to see Mike now, you know, and just be like, dude, I didn't think like he was gonna make it, you know, or like Jason from T-Tari did not think that dude was gonna make it, but like he's just like a solid dude, you know, like living his life. It's totally it's nice to see that.
But all you guys, when you were at that MacArthur Park place, I thought, I mean, I was weird, but like I was like, you guys are all gonna die for many different reasons, you know.
I didn't know that place was in MacArthur Park.
Oh, dude, it was so sketchy. So sketchy down there.
I mean, I wouldn't... It's fucking scummy as shit there now.
It's funny because there was the fashion...
oh, yeah. It's Otis.
Otis, yeah.
Yeah, it was so wild because when I lived there, you know, because I had gone to some college, but I was dropped out at that time, and I would see the art students walking around, and I'd be like, I wish I could be friends with these people because they seem so cool. But there's like no...
They weren't that cool though, I don't think.
Well, there's just no community there. You can't just be like a person on the street and like, you know, make friends with somebody. Like it's just, there was no overlap whatsoever.
Where do you think because I don't know where you felt you fit in when you were like, you know, on the other, like when you were like more of a hardcore band, like, but now where do you fit in? Like who are your comrades musically or
I think musically our comrades now are just fuckers we've known like you for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
I mean, most of our closest musical allies are over 20 years old at this point. I mean,
yeah, I don't need to like it. I just want the support, and vice versa. I'd rather have somebody do what they want to do as a friend, and I'll support that. I'll show up at the fucking show.
But what about, that's a good point, because I don't remember who we had on one of our previous podcasts, but we were saying that like I would like your band, and I liked your band before I met you guys, but after we became friends, I'm like, I really like the band now. And so you know, it like strengthens that, you know. I mean, I do think like I don't think, I mean,
it's
I
like
guess
a restaurant. It's like, I don't have to love my friend's restaurant, but sometimes you gotta throw some money their way, or a bar or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really want to go to a bar, honestly. Like, I'd rather sit on a rooftop or whatever. But
yeah.
But if I'm gonna spend my money and I'm gonna spend my like emotions somewhere, I kind of choose that way now. And I you know, not every place is the best, not every band is the best, and I don't think we have any, you know, like place in the record store with a bunch of other people.
I guess that's kind of,
we haven't fit in very well anywhere.
but those are the best bands.
Kind of, yes. I'm like, maybe like the like big failures. I feel like, you know, like a Faust or something, where it's like their perseverance has made them successful, but like, because we were kind of weird. We had like the ability to spend money that wasn't ours, and wasn't
Like to make records and tour and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, we've had opportunities that are surprising in hindsight, that somebody would trust us or even want to invest, knowing what we can provide in return, you know.
Yeah.
Yourself included, actually.
Yeah.
Fuck, man, you spent
Yeah, that was an expensive single.
Yeah, that single I feel like took, especially
that
at
was-
that time, was like, it seemed like a ton of
This the one on
money
the
and
3-1G one,
work
but
and-
it was okay. So
it never
it
made
was
any
time,
money, right?
It was a lot of, no, we never broke even ever. But the point is, the point was like, I loved you guys, and I was like, let's do a record, and I'll do whatever you want. And then you had, I don't know how we came up with the idea, but it was basically like those like kids books with Star
Yeah.
Wars. And that was the thing. I was like, this is an art project, and I'm not trying to join your band, obviously, but it felt like I'm gonna be part of this fucking thing that's gonna be so sick.
Well, I felt like we had to come up with something, because 301G had done a lot of inventive packaging.
Which we were influenced by Gravity, though.
Yeah.
All the shit Matt was doing, but he had kind of like,
He had his own like
we printed that whole record, your guys' whole record, where Gravity existed, like at the print shop.
what was that place called?
Custom printing.
Oh yeah.
It's still there, and Vaughn is great, the guy that does it. But he was like, all right, let's do this thing, and a lot of it we kind of like we kind of figured out, like the fucking gluing of the little flap
the tabs
that
for
was
the
the
top.
worst. That was the worst part. But collating, stapling, like it was all set up, and you know what, I'd like buy my friends like, all right, everyone pizza. And like we're gonna put these records together, you know.
Yeah,
It was
that's
like,
awesome.
That's super cool.
Yeah, that. I just felt like when we did the single with Matt, he was like, anything you want to do for pack. Like
Yeah.
I'd never made a cover for a record before, so like I didn't have any like creative ideas. He basically was just like, how about we do this, and then I'll hit it with a.
That was weird.
Perforator.
It had the little notches in it.
Yeah.
Like
That's
But-
cool.
But yeah, he had a darker aesthetic overall, like I guess in general. But I don't know, we lucked out. People love that single too, the 31G one.
I mean, it was next level. The only problem I had was that like at that time we were still like the like, what is it called, like the influence of like Discord and Ebullition, where like we couldn't sell a 7-inch. Like people were like, $8, what
Yeah.
the fuck? And you're like, it's a 40-page full color book with this cover that was glued every single one by me. Like, just fucking give me $9, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we there might be a few in our web store, but I think it's pretty much gone now.
Yeah.
Like, which is surprising, but also like, people just didn't want to pay that much for 2 songs.
I think we got it. Like when we were in 2013, I think I got a box from you on tour. Like
don't
when
know.
we played.
Oh yeah,
You still had some.
yeah, but that
And we
was
sold some.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was like the end of it, and you know, 31G had distribution problems and stuff. But even with that, like we couldn't figure out how to like market it. So like most distributors, it would just say like 7-inch, and it would be listed as like this expensive 7-inch. And at the time, $8 or $9.
Yeah.
In like early 2000s, people were like, what the fuck? And so we couldn't even get stores to take it. And you're like, you gotta list it as a book, 2, I guess, or something.
What was the most expensive record you guys did?
That probably was one of them, but then we did that Crimson Curse Festival Dead Deer Square 7-inch.
Oh yeah.
Which was like the cost of an LP cut down to a square, and then you had to sell it for $5. And you're like, well, that sucks. And then we did a Locust Ginny Piccolo 5-inch picture disc, which was pretty expensive.
I had that one too.
So out of all of, I mean, now I can't do that anymore. I mean, we do like cool packaging and stuff. We actually, the designer that 31G works with for most of our stuff now, this guy Brandon McMahon has done the craziest shit to the Def Club 7-inch, but it's kind of like silk screening on a one-sided 7-inch. But he has this printer that I mean, so he would it's clear, he'd print the lyrics and then he'd print white, and then he'd print the like image, but the printing on it was done by this machine, and so when you look at it, there's like texture and you can see the image. I don't know, it's weird. Like when you see it, you want to put it on your wall. You're like, this is fucking not something you listen to. This is some weird shit that you would like.
That sounds awesome.
But again, it's like, it's a 7-inch. You can't sell it for more than $10.
Well, now you can.
Now,
you can sell anything.
Now when
for
you're
anything.
like a new hardcore band, it was like, I'm not buying this shit. Like whatever.
Dude, shit. What people pay for records now is.
Yeah, but if you're cool, people will pay a lot for it. But if you're not, like, I'm not cool, and no one knew that it was like a cool band.
We definitely ain't moving units either. So yeah.
That's why we always stick together.
Yeah. No, but I mean, there's some people. I guess everyone's been doing this long enough that you have certain friends that seem like they took one route and other. For me, the Wolf Eyes guys seem like they never strayed away from this sort of like, we just make a bunch of these and then sell them, and there's a market for this shit. Like people will pay $30 for a cassette that you glue the fucking shoe to and then spray paint it on top of and stuff. But I don't know how.
Did you just come up with that, or did they do that?
I think that actually was maybe Carolina had a Carolina Rainbow record that had like a shoe
Glued to
it. Was like a pizza box with like a shoe glued to it.
But like Wolf Eyes was a weird one because it's like, how did you get it onto Sub Pop? Like, what the fuck? How did that happen?
I don't know how that happened. That was great though.
But like brutal noise music, like
Yeah.
pretty mean sounding shit,
I think after September 11th, like people were all of a sudden open to more left of center.
We played Coachella with the Locust played Coachella right after them, and I remember watching them play Wolf Eyes, and it was almost like watching like I was like in Mad Max or something. It was just like fucking apocalyptic, and there was like all this dirt and
Bunch of dudes. Bunch of dudes in the dirt.
At Coachella when it was like still kind of decent, I guess.
We never played there. We did projections for Animal Collective at that point. But yeah, I mean, they don't seem like they ever tried to stray. For us, I feel like there was periods where we were getting enough attention media-wise and getting asked to play like sort of more and more mainstream music festivals and things like that I think on some weird level we thought like, I don't know, I guess I thought that certain things that happened for other friends like who became independently wealthy from their bands, it almost seemed like possible for like this short moment. And then
So you mean like stray but not artistically stray, just stray as far as like your options and as like a career, I guess. I don't know.
It seemed like we were all of a sudden having opportunities that most people that played music that was as fucked up as ours did not get. Whether that was just because we were in New York and friends with the right people or what it was, but there did seem like there was this moment where it seemed like it made sense that something like Wolf Eyes or us would be eventually playing on like Letterman or playing like a big festival.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds ridiculous to say
But
now, but at the time, like I was just like, well, I don't know, everybody else is sort of doing this. Like this will probably happen, and it became easy to lose sight of how fucked up the music was.
I think like maybe since the 70s, and I mean I might be wrong here, but I feel like in the 70s and up till now there was always like those bands that kind of were like, whoa. I mean, starting with like looking at the Sex Pistols, I mean, now obviously it sounds like a pop band, but in the 70s people are probably like, this is the most fucked up thing, and they're huge and they're known all over the world and making a lot of money, or whatever. So like, and then the 80s was full of it too. Like how to, but then within our communities, like it seemed like some of our friends were getting they're winning the lottery, and you're like, that's cool. Like, but not everyone gets to win it.
No, but now I just sort of am like, you're lucky if you get to play. And the friends of ours that actually did make those big advances, like career-wise, when I listen to what they do musically, I'm just like, oh, that's why. They're like really good at writing catchy songs that people like the lyrics to, or they're like all the things that we never would put any effort into to do at all, like trying to make you feel good, or
but that's your art, and art's subjective. I think
100%. I
don't always want to feel good. Like I don't want to fucking put on shit that makes you but it's funny though, when I listen to a lot of the Black Dice stuff, the more recent stuff, I feel good when I hear it.
At least someone did. Some real darkness informing.
I don't think we're that weird of a band musically. I mean, I'm so close to it, I have no perspective, but there are times I'm like, I guess this new record had reviews of 1 or 2 I read, and I was just like, really? I mean, when I listen to like, I was listening to this thing called Pink Dalla. Have you ever heard this? I think it's considered like female bedroom hip hop, I guess. And I was just like, I don't understand a fucking
What's
thing.
the bedroom part have to do?
I think it's just a record in their house. Like, it's not a big studio thing. But it was like, the way they approached it was more like bounce, like that New Orleans bounce stuff, where it was like, it was hip hop, but it would just be like this one thing, and then it would change to this other big chunk, and it had nothing to do with songwriting, like in a traditional sense. And I was like, this seems weird to me, but I guess because it's popular, it's not weird, you know? And that's...
Well, it's like mumble rap or like SoundCloud rap.
Yeah.
They just seem like, no offense to those
artists. Is that like Lil Peep?
I don't know if he's part of that.
I'm sure anybody now with Lil in front of
them. It is like the Lil thing, But it just felt like lazy kind of, or like junky, but it's funny because Brett Garowitz, the owner of Epitaph.
I don't think I've met him by now.
I mean, okay, well, he was in Bad Religion and, all the stuff or whatever. And like, him and I had this conversation where he was like, we met up we had a meeting, and he only wanted to talk about mumble rap, and I was like, what the fuck, why? And so I was like, dude, you got to explain to me, because like, this is a guy that was in Bad Religion, and, he like likes a lot of cool music, but also likes a lot of bad music, and but bad, like, as like Rancid bad or The Offspring bad, which they put out those bands. So I'm like, why do you like this stuff? And he's like, he really honestly felt like it was a modern day version of what punk rock was in the 80s. Like, it was so fucked up, and everyone had like shitty tattoos on their faces, and like, like, it was a thing. It's like, this is like, you identified. It was like, a mohawk doesn't work anymore. Okay, I'm gonna fuck my face up, and I'm gonna do this noise mumble rap,
mumbling over like
something,
a trap beat.
Not really musical. Like, you think about like Darby Crash, it's like almost identical to Darby Crash, like. And I love the Germs, but what I'm saying, like, he couldn't sing, he didn't really perform very well, he was a mess, and so like, oh yeah, so that makes sense. So maybe that is this is a product, or like, this is the effect of us being older,
I think everybody wants to believe that the older they get, they're going to still be open-minded and receptive to everything. Yeah. I just don't think that happens.
There you have it. That was episode 17 of the Cult and Culture podcast. Be sure to check out Black Dice and pick up their new album that just came out, Mod Prod Sick, on 4/4 Records, out now. Be sure to check out our previous episodes, available on all streaming platforms.
Cult and Culture is a Ruinous Media podcast, proudly sponsored by Earthquaker Devices, Heartwork Coffee, Fender, and Diodario.
Planet B.